There's big breaking TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 4 of Welcome to Prime Time. I'm your host, Kerri and Chad. I'm joined by Kerri and Chad. How's it going, guys?
Go space shirt. Go space. Do it with me. Go space shirt.
I'm actually wearing a Michael Myers Bob Ross inspired shirt.
Oh, I love that.
That's an awesome shirt, dude.
The handprint over here and everything.
Well, we're doing great to answer your question.
Yeah.
Very excited to get into some trailers, maybe some stories about
Tons of trailers.
movies. So
Yeah, lots of trailers. A lot of shit came out this week. It's really exciting.
I mean, yes, it is. It is the day of the big game, as I think it's called the Super Bowl. I'm not quite good with these.
No. It's the Superb Owl Party.
There we go. There we go. Love it.
Forgot about that.
So the main topic today, as you guys see below, horror movies based on true events, part 2. Last week was true crime. This week is delving deep into the supernatural. Ooh.
Yeah, a lot more. I hope you guys found you guys did the research last time. Not as dark.
Oh God, I hope not.
Well, yeah.
I've got one story that's a little dark, but
I mean, here's the thing about these types of stories, though, is that because they're not, I mean, they're based on true events, but it's like one of those things where if you don't believe in like the supernatural or the metaphysical, the ghosts out there, then you might be a little more skeptical. But you know, the other things, it's still based off of true events. But
yeah. So before we get there, let's kick off with our first news story. So I'll kick off this one. There was a first trailer for the new adaptation of Stephen King's Firestarter, which, believe it or not, actually stars someone that we should have talked about last week with playing Ted Bundy, Zac Efron in the lead of this one.
Right. That's right.
So what do you guys think about this trailer? I actually think it didn't look too bad. I think it could be a pretty decent adaptation.
Yeah, this one for me, so I read some of Firestarter. Kerri and I are huge Stephen King fans. We'll just throw it out there. It's
Nice.
One of the big things that kind of when we were getting together, we kind of bonded over like reading Stephen King and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I don't know about Kerri, but I've never read Firestarter all the way through. I started it, but I didn't finish it for whatever reason. And then I've also never seen the original movie. That's one I
with
really
Drew Barrymore, right?
Barrymore that I need to actually get into. But as far as this trailer goes, just kind of on its own, for me, it feels like it could go either way. I'm interested to see. I didn't never see the Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie, but I'm interested to see him in this role as like a father figure. I'm like,
well, I think he is the father. I think he is the father.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like him as in the father role, it's going to be interesting to see that. And as far as this movie goes, I don't know. It looks like it could be good. It could be interesting, but it also, I don't know. I don't know where I lie on this one. It also could just be very bad.
yeah,
Kerri?
I thought it looked pretty cool. It could wind up being a bad movie. I actually just read Firestarter for the first time.
Oh, cool.
Definitely more than a year ago, but within the last couple years. And I really enjoyed it. So, and I, like Chad, I haven't seen the original movie, so
I haven't either.
I'm excited to see it. Yeah.
I think this could end up being, because you have two levels here. You have It 2017, and then you have Pet Sematary.
I think it's gonna be.
I didn't like the new Pet Sematary like at all, and I
didn't like either one, being honest.
Oh, interesting. Well, I was super hyped for Pet Sematary when I saw the trailer because it was a really good trailer, and then the movie came out, not so much, personally. I think. Who's the main actor in Pet Sematary? He's also in Winchester.
Jason Clarke.
When he's in a horror movie, I'm probably not going to like it. Let's face it.
I mean, that's fair. He's not been in any good ones lately. But yeah, it seems like a lot of Stephen King adaptations are usually up and down. You could get an It 2017 or Shining, or you could get, something like A Dark Tower or Pet Cemetery, or you never know. I am holding out hope that this one's going to be good because the idea of it sounds interesting. Almost like a younger version of Carrie in a way with telekinesis. It's like, was it pyro?
Yeah, pyrokinesis.
Pyrokinesis.
So
that could be interesting to see. Like, it also has a mix of like almost a Dr. Sleep, like someone bigger chasing down the family.
That's what I was kind of gonna say. I was gonna like add to is like it coupled like the movie It coupled with Dr. Sleep. I think it seemed to be kind of like the new renaissance of Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah,
and so that's why I'm hoping that this movie is actually really good and we can keep getting great ones, because who wants bad Stephen King adaptations? He makes such great stories.
Yeah. So, Kerri, go ahead and kick us off with the next news story.
Sure. So as you might have heard already, Rob Zombie
still blows my mind.
Rob Zombie is filming a movie version of The Munsters. And they started filming a while ago, and they actually just released a promo photo of Jorge Garcia. You'll probably remember him as Hurley from Lost. That's his most famous role. And he's been cast as Floop, the hunchback assistant. I saw this and I thought he looked like Hagrid.
What, Hunter?
I said, I'm going to try to share the screen real quick. That way we can all see the photo.
Yeah. Jorge, I remember when he was Hurley on Lost, that dude blew up. He was like everywhere, I think, at the time. He was like the kind of one of the big faces of Lost. And so it'll kind of be like interesting to kind of see him make a return. I mean, he got so popular. I remember one time the rock band Weezer actually made a rock album, and the cover of the album was just his face. I'm not making that up. That's a real thing that happened. I think it's called Hurley.
And this is going to be a new character.
Yes, there's the photo right there.
Yeah.
He might be. Well, he's a hunchback. You're saying so? He's the actual like monster.
No, but he's not. He's not from the original TV show.
No, I understand that. Well, so he's not going to be a part of the monster family, but he's going to be like a monster, like a creature.
He's going to be an assistant.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess like a
so he's assistant to the lead. Ed, is it Ed Munster?
Herman.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Herman.
Yeah.
Herman Munster.
I was like, where the fuck did Ed come from?
I think Eddie is the little vampire boy in the Munsters. But the thing about the Munsters is I know that my dad used to really love this show and watch it all the time. So I've seen a little bit of it, but I never like really got into the show. I mean, it's a pretty old show with pretty like old kind of humor that doesn't super appeal to our generations, but it's definitely like a funny sitcom type of a deal with a family of monsters or monsters and one normal like person lady in the family. And so now I'm like wondering what the hell this is going to be, because Rob Zombie is not a guy that's going to make a comedy in my mind, or at least if it's a comedy, it's going to be like a weird, like raunchy, gory comedy, like dark comedy.
Yep.
And even watching like his Halloween versions, they're just, pardon my speak, but he actually like self-proclaimed this. It's just about a bunch of rednecks yelling at each other and cursing a lot and just being very vulgar and gritty. And I'm like, this isn't gonna be the monsters we know.
That's what worries me, is that if he tries to do something different, I don't know if his writing and dialogue being the way he is, if he's able to turn it into like a family film. and that would just be weird. But if he tries to make it completely different and bloody and gory and raunchy, that's not going to work either because The Monsters is a family TV show.
Yeah. I will say, if you want to speak, or just 1 second, I will say that I'm not a fan of Rob Zombie. I don't really like his music or his movies or anything like that. On a personal level, I respect anybody who does. That's cool. But honestly, if he wants to try and do something different than what he normally does, and if he can make it more something that a lot of people can go see rather than just the niche people who like those kinds of really hard R movies, then hey, maybe he'll turn around in my mind.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting anyway, it turns out. I guarantee that. 'Cause these are going to be something we've never seen from him, or he's going to take a family beloved sitcom classic and turn it and Rob Zombify it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And we saw how that worked out with Halloween, and it wasn't fun.
It was not fun at all. So, Chad, go ahead and let's move on to our third topic.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So let's okay, so I'll go into this we did actually watch this one. This is the Keke Palmer movie Alice.
Yeah.
It's like a long overdue like revenge thriller.
So I have the plot summary right here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says Alice Keke Palmer yearns for freedom as an enslaved person on a royal Georgia plantation under its brutal and disturbing owner, Paul, played by Johnny Lee Miller. After a violent clash with Paul, she flees through the neighboring woods and stumbles onto an unfamiliar side of a highway, soon discovering the year is actually 1973. Rescued on a roadside by a delusional political activist named Frank, played by Common, Alice quickly comprehends the lies that have kept her in bondage and the promise of Black liberation.
Okay, this scene. You know what this feels like? This feels.
I think I know where you're going.
This kind of feels like a what are the movies like Deep Impact and whatever the.
Oh, I was thinking more like The End of the Village.
Yes, that's what. Yeah, we were thinking when we watched the trailer.
The Village for sure, but I was also thinking about maybe this was supposed to be one of those things where, I didn't mean the plot of Deep Impact, but like one of those ones where two movies come out in the same year, but it just didn't happen like that. It feels like this might have been supposed to come out at the same time as Antebellum because it feels like Antebellum.
It's a little different. It's a little different because Antebellum, this is a little bit more like The Village.
Spoilers for Antebellum.
And The Village, I guess, from 2004.
2004.
Because we start out, assuming that she is in the past, and then she comes out onto the highway, literally the ending of The Village.
Yeah.
But we continue on with the narrative, and I think this is and I don't know if you saw Antebellum, but actually I want to spoil it for you, Hunter. This Antebellum was kind of a similar thing.
Yeah.
Especially the kind of setup where there's a setup where people have to, it's like Black people being kidnapped by white people to live in a pseudo 1800s village or whatever.
That really sounds interesting. I mean,
it was kind of an interesting film, to be honest. I also got from this trailer like Django Unchained vibes.
Yeah, exactly. It feels more like a horror action in a way.
Yeah, I got some kind of I don't know. One of those 70s films and
like a blaxploitation film.
A little bit, but probably I think a little more kind of toned down or more updated to our times.
I would also say the movie that I got a lot of feeling from, especially from the trailer, is Black Klansmen.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the style of a Spike Lee, the fast-paced dialogue. Just in the trailer, you're able to see that the director knows what he's doing when it comes to fast-paced dialogue, which I love when something can really hit that mark.
I think this trailer though just kind of like left me feeling a little flat just because like I expected kind of like more of a horror movie, but I also got a lot of like uplifting, heavy message filled drama in this.
Yeah, this is gonna be. It feels like it could be almost like a Get Out, where the horrors aren't really scares, but they're like how realistic
Yeah,
this movie could be.
I just hope that they can like find like a central tone because I don't think this can pull off a Parasite where it can be everything all at once.
All
and
at
still
once.
be fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it can like pick one, drama or thriller. Like, what are you going for? And
I mean, sometimes you don't have to pick between drama and thriller. I mean,
That's
stuff
true,
like
but I
Silence
mean-
of the Lambs is a great example of both.
very true. If they can pull off a Silence of the Lambs and blend them super well, then it might be one of the greatest movies of the year. But we'll see.
Oh yeah, and I mean, Keke Palmer, man, she is gonna have a killer year this year.
Yeah, because we're about to talk about her next movie.
Yeah, hey,
Talk about that one.
that transition. Yep. So the new trailer, the first trailer for Jordan Peele's next movie, Nope, was released early this morning. It was a Super Bowl trailer. It was like 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So it was a long trailer.
Mm-hmm.
What I love is it was a long trailer, and I still have no idea what the fuck this movie is about.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. Like I remember like a year ago when they first dropped just a poster.
Poster?
And it just said Nope. And it was like some sort of like sky disturbance with like
with lights on the top of the clouds.
Lights or like a balloon string. Mm-hmm. I remember people in the forum that I chat in a lot. We were all talking about what could it be? It just says Nope, and there's a sky disturbance. Like, what could this string be? And I still don't know what the hell it is. Is it like a balloon?
Well,
thing or like
I thought it was they released it when they first announced it. It would be, and maybe this was just people taking that picture and running with it. I thought it's supposed to be like an alien invasion.
That's what I was thinking when I first saw it. And the trailer, it kind of looked like that. It kind of looked like the aliens came down in one shot. Like you don't see them, but like the spacecraft comes down, and then the horses get spooked.
Yeah,
yeah.
This kind of could be like a semi like Western vibe because of the horses and the rain.
Yeah, like a Western sci-fi horror, like everything.
Yeah. Pretty much all we saw was them talking about horses, and then Keke Palmer's dancing, and things start to happen.
Keke Palmer, man, every time I see her and stuff, I get more impressed by her.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the first time I saw her was on a Disney Channel movie.
Which one?
It was called Jump In, I think.
Oh, I've never seen
that. It was like a double Dutch movie.
That must have been after my time, but
it was like her, Corbin Bleu.
Oh, okay, yeah, probably. Yeah, I dipped out like right before High School Musical, so
there you go.
But yeah, I remember at the end of this trailer, Kerri was like, okay, finally, like probably a really scary alien movie, except for Alien. Alien's pretty scary.
I think Alien's scary. I think I've seen pieces of The Fourth Kind, and I thought that was like a documentary when I first watched it, so that was very scary at the time.
I had to watch that movie for a horoscope podcast that never aired, and I'm so mad.
Is it actually bad?
Oh, it's terrible.
It's not good at all. It's like 2 hours, and it's so boring.
I've heard someone try to trash it on a debate over at Movie Battleground.
It's like Mia. What? How do you say her last name? Mia Jovovich?
No, yeah, Mila Jovovich. No,
Jovovich.
Mila Jovovich.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, she plays like a
Resident Evil.
Yeah, Resident Evil. I'm just like, this is so boring.
I was just tuning channels and found it and thought it was a documentary until like almost the very end where I was like, wait, this was before we had like everyone had smartphones and I could have just looked it up really quickly. So I'm just in my room like, no, this can't be real now. Like, because they use footage, they intersperse it with footage from like they filmed this woman's like alien abduction session.
Alien abduction.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like
Anyways, back to
as far as I don't know what this movie's gonna be. Nope. But the title's interesting. The actors are really, really good. The look of it looks really amazing. We don't really know what it's gonna be, which is very exciting. And the last times that was exactly the same feeling for the Get Out trailer.
And Us as well.
And Us, we didn't know what the hell was going on with those, and we were
But
pleasant.
Jordan Peele is really good about doing that, creating trailers that don't give you everything.
Yeah. Just enough to get you in the theater.
I remember the Get Out trailer before Jordan Peele ever, he was just the comedy guy with, Keegan-Michael Key. And, I remember seeing this trailer and I'm like, this looks weird as hell. What the hell is this? Jordan Peele? What the hell? And then it became one of the biggest horror movies ever.
Yeah, one of the best horror movies.
That's one of my favorite horror movies of the 2010s. And I'll tell you why. You can watch that movie. I've watched it like at least 10 times.
Jesus.
And I catch everything new. Something new every time.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Like, spoilers for a 2016 movie, I guess. But when they're first heading to the house and they get stopped and you think, oh, she's protecting her boyfriend. No, you find out on a rewatch that she's not letting him check the ID because if he goes missing, then the cops know exactly where to lead to because he already told them where they were going. Yep. So then it ties it back to the ending. You're just like, oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
This trailer showed me just enough to get me excited, but I still want to see more because I want to know what the hell this movie's about.
I kind of hope they don't really start releasing a bunch of trailers. Out. I don't want to know until I see it.
I don't think Jordan Peele will ruin the experience. He seems like he's like 2 for 2 for me right now. Both his movies are fantastic. So I'm super stoked for Nope.
2 for 2, and even when he produces something like Candyman was amazing. So
I love the new Candyman.
Yeah, same.
Loved it. Oh my god,
to be honest though, I do like a lot of movies that deal with race, especially in today's times.
Yeah. Social. Yep.
Social issues, and I know a lot of people don't like that. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about that, but it's a real thing. You can't just pretend like it didn't happen.
The reason why the people not wanting to talk about it is why it's so important.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's because of people like Jordan Peele and these movies like Candyman and Get Out and Us. That's the reason why people are even talking about it. If we didn't have these black directors, black actors and actresses coming out and putting on these great performances, or like Black Klansmen is another example I brought up before. Like that movie dealt with race, but it dealt with it in a funny comedy type way.
Mm-hmm.
You can deal with race and social issues without making it so serious, but get your point across.
There's another Spike Lee movie that's kind of divisive. We won't really talk about it here. It's called Bamboozled. Check that out.
I've never heard of that.
Although I will say it's a satire. It deals with blackface. So if that's like triggering to you, or it is very tough to watch. I will say, even as like, we're obviously if you're on the video, we're white. Even for us. It's difficult to watch.
Yeah, I mean, if you check out, just because like the cover of the movie, it's a criterion that I got. If the cover of the movie is someone in blackface, and it's very like when you see it, you go, "Oh my god, okay, what is this? A really really old movie?" It's like no, it's like
it's just an old Disney film.
It's like a 2000s film, but it's very the social commentary on it is really great. It's a comedy. It's not a
I mean, I'm not against people using satires to prove a point.
Yeah.
And at least it was a Spike Lee movie, so at least I don't feel bad that it was like a white director doing it.
That would have been a little weirder. That would have been weird. Yeah.
So maybe I will check it out. Yes, I'm on that side, guys. Call me SJW all you want. I don't care.
You're an SJW.
We're with you, Hunter.
Why not? All right, do you guys want to move on to the next trailer talk?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna talk about this one if y'all don't
Go ahead.
mind. So this is the
Because you're not one.
this is the trailer for the new movie from Alex Garland, who did Ex Machina and Annihilation, both
I gotta watch Ex
excellent
Machina.
movies.
Also wrote 28 Days Later.
Yeah, so really solid. Ex Machina is not so much horror, but definitely 28 Days Later, obviously.
I mean, it's more
Kind
sci-fi
of
horror, I would
Ex
say.
Machina's a
Yeah.
light horror.
Yeah, and Annihilation, definitely horror, definitely body horror.
Sci-fi.
So he's coming out with a new directed movie. It's going to be called Men. We watched the trailer, and it's starring Jessie Buckley, who I think is one of like our favorite actresses right now.
As soon as I saw her in Wild Rose, and oh my god, she's so
Yeah,
amazing.
I wasn't sure who that was. I'm not sure what she was in.
She's been in this movie Wild Rose, not a horror movie at all. It's like a musical drama, but it's very good. If
Very
you're looking
good.
for something more on the lighter side to watch.
But-
and then she was in I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Which I was like gonna say, that one is more horror. It's not really a horror, but that one is more horror. It's Charlie Kaufman written, directed, movie, so it's very strange. It's very off-putting.
It's a Kaufman movie.
What I'm saying is she has a lot of range, so I'm very excited to see what she does.
Anyways, this movie, to me, this is like she's this woman, I think the plot is that her husband or her ex-husband has died. She goes on a vacation, and it's a lot of the trailer is a lot of beautiful shots, but there's also someone like stalking her.
It gave me a Strangers vibe almost.
Yeah, kind of a Strangers vibe. And I don't know, this is the exact type of horror, at least based on the trailer, that really, really scares me. So I'm very excited for it.
Chad?
The movie that it is reminding me now of is Absentia.
Oh, yeah.
Because of creepy people in tunnels. So this can end up being a subgenre of horror. Is the creepy people in tunnels?
Creepy people in tunnels.
Because Absentia, if you haven't, it's exactly. If you haven't seen Absentia, it's like Mike Flanagan's like debut feature, I think, and it's pretty amazing for like a small first film or whatever. I mean, it's no Hereditary, but it is pretty amazing.
It's pretty scary. There's some scary bits in there.
I'm not saying this is going to be exactly like that or anything, but anytime you have a creepy thing in a tunnel, that's scary as hell. And I know that, like I was saying, I was praising Jessie Buckley as an actress. I mean, she just got nominated for supporting actress and for Academy Award, and so.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, she was in The Lost Daughter, so she got nominated for that. That was a Maggie Gyllenhaal joint. But yeah,
I haven't watched any of these like Oscar-worthy movies.
But yeah, she definitely check out Spencer though, because that was to me a horror movie. So.
Wait, you mean just from the Oscar nominations?
Well, yeah, he says he hadn't watched a lot of Oscar movies, so I wanted to highlight Spencer because it's kind of a horror movie. But yeah, I think if she brings everything she's been bringing in every other movie, this is going to be another phenomenally acted movie. Might be like Toni Collette in Hereditary or Lupita Nyong'o in Us.
So, AKA really good, not going to get nominated. God.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
100%.
Well, I don't know. If she wins this year, maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. There's very much like Rebecca Hall last year in The Night House. I mean,
but she's never been nominated.
I know she hasn't been. She's even in her more like Christine or something that's a little bit more mainstream and not genre. She still hasn't been nominated.
It sucks that horror, and this is actually a topic I want to talk about one day on the show. The horror at the Oscars, because there is something up with these Oscar voters, man.
What we could do too is we could talk about the history of it, We could talk about like, movies that did make it. Maybe why, give little reviews ourselves, talk about why we like those. And then maybe we could like highlight movies that didn't get any nods, maybe some performances that didn't get any nods that we think should have. I think that could be a fun topic to do in the future.
Definitely.
Maybe soon.
All right. So let's move on to the next one. Chad, go ahead and take this one.
Absolutely. This was one that we tagged on just at the last second because I think it was just released like today.
Like an hour ago.
Yeah, for the Super Bowl. That makes sense. This one is Doctor Strange 2. It's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So the reason why this is on here is because this has been
directed by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
That's
well,
all we
I
got
was
to
gonna
say.
say, like, even before Sam Raimi, this was kind of like lauded as the big horror movie that's coming into the MCU. We haven't had too many of those or any really, and so it was very exciting to hear like Doctor Strange with the multiverse and just being like a sorcerer. There's so much there that could be used to make a really great horror film. And at first, we had Scott Derrickson coming back.
Yeah.
He's made one of the scariest movies I've ever seen in Sinister. And then but he dropped that. I can't remember what the story is with that. But Sam Raimi came in, and we're huge Sam Raimi fans. I love his Spider-Man mans. And I also am a huge Evil Dead fan too. So
And Drag Me to Hell, I think, is apparently
Drag Me to Hell is so underrated.
Drag Me to Hell is amazing. So yeah, I'm very excited to see because we know he's got the horror chops, he's got the comedy chops, he's got the superhero chops.
Yep.
So this dude can do it all and just like invents like great techniques and come up with great stories. And so I'm just so excited. However, this trailer, I don't know. I didn't get like crazy horror vibes from the entire trailer, but I did. Just like if you see at the trailer at the end of No Way Home, there is going to be some sort of like evil Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so that's supposed to be. I'm guessing that's supposed to be the Nightmare version of Doctor Strange, which shows up in the comics. Nightmare. Thank Freddy Krueger. That's Nightmare in Marvel Comics. He can create lucid dreams in people. He can get in their minds and warp their perspective around them.
Sounds like the dark timeline from Community. Evil.
Yes.
Evil Abed.
Evil Abed's amazing. Yes.
Yeah, like and then there was something at the end of the trailer. I don't know what the hell that was.
I don't remember what they're called because our friend Red is into the Marvel comics, and she was telling me about there are these creatures that Doctor Strange like sees all the time, and they're really spooky. But they're the things you see at the very end of the trailer. They kind of looked like kind of mini Dementors to me, but
mini Dementors.
It's such a quick look. So I'm really excited to see those. I'm hoping there's a little bit more horror incorporated.
There definitely will be.
I hope there's some intense horror, but also like I hope Sam Raimi still brings his camp because at the core of it, the MCU is, I don't want to say super campy, but they do have their camp at times, and they definitely they definitely bring the humor. So, and Sam Raimi excels at like blending all three of those things: camp, horror, and humor. And so I'm just very excited to see what he brings.
So, watching this trailer, I had a moment where there's one line that really stuck out to me. It's when Wanda is talking to Stephen Strange, and she's like, "When you go crazy, you're the hero, and when I go crazy and snap, I'm the villain."
Yeah, and she said that doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair.
I'm so excited. I
love that line.
WandaVision so much. I think that's
WandaVision is amazing.
Wanda. I said it like I was Russian.
That was WandaVision is the only Disney Plus show that I finished. I didn't
Nice.
finish
Wow.
Loki. I haven't even watched Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
It's been my favorite. I know people have actually pretty varied opinions. I
Mhm.
think it just comes down to personal taste, but WandaVision, I think, was both of our favorites as well.
Yeah.
It's up there for me. I mean, it was just a really great character study and a study on grief.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
people just don't vibe with that. They're like, nothing happened, and I'm like, chill, just like
Dude, a
like,
lot
be
happened,
glad.
especially on a rewatch, because I want to go back and rewatch it
Mhm.
to lead up to different movies. I want to see what small things they put in the shows that may lead to something in the movies.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, especially before Multiverse of Madness, I'm going to go back and rewatch WandaVision and see if maybe I see Easter eggs that tie directly
Okay.
into the movie.
Hell yeah,
Nice.
dude! If you find some, let us know.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, I still have a feeling that Mephisto is involved somehow. And
So
only
everybody keeps saying.
because there are too many hints at demons and devils in these shows that, I mean,
I'm down.
literally a line where it's like in WandaVision where the neighbor tells Wanda the devil's in the details, and then something happens through the radio, the static
That's
radio.
awesome. I'd love to see like some sort of like crazy possession or crazy shit up in here. I would love to see stuff like that. That would be so cool.
Which I actually think they could bring in Mephisto in here. And maybe Strange makes a deal with Mephisto to end the multiverse.
Whoa.
And maybe that'll lead to maybe the next Spider-Man movie where it's Mephisto versus Spider-Man. Maybe there's some deal that happens there.
I haven't thought about any of this.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, see? Great ideas when I'm drunk. All right, so the last one.
Good.
I was
yeah,
going
Kerri?
to it's Hunter's turn to
Oh,
take it. If you
good.
want.
Okay. So yeah, that teaser trailer for a movie called Dark Glasses got released. What was it? Yesterday or was it today?
It might have been a few days ago. It's Dario Argento's new film.
So this is a Giallo film?
It's a Giallo
All
film. And Dario Argento, I don't think has made a movie in like over a decade.
I mean,
I didn't know he would. I guess he's
3 years
like
ago.
he's an old-timey director, so this is kind of interesting to see
Wait,
like a new
It's
movie.
been a
from him.
decade.
I think over a decade since his
Damn.
last
He's like a
directed movie.
He's like a 70s, 80s director. Right?
yeah.
So,
He was big in the.
But I mean, so is Sam Raimi. So yeah, I mean, honestly, we tried to find a good quality one on our TV, but like on YouTube, all I found was like a really super zoomed in one, and then we'd watch part of it.
Well, I
on,
think maybe if we put in the Italian name, we would have found the right
maybe.
trailer.
Yeah, because it's
Well,
an
yeah.
Italian film, ain't it?
Yeah.
yeah, so we watched this one on Kerri's phone, and honestly, it was just like a bunch of like
Gore. It looks
it's just
real
a bunch
gory.
of stuff going across the screen really fast, and I couldn't tell what the hell was going on.
It was hard to figure out what was going on because I'm usually really good at reading subtitles because I watch my animes with subtitles on.
Mm-hmm.
But there was so much stuff that I missed because I was trying to read the dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
kind of hard in trailers when you have to cut stuff together and you got
Yeah,
like
I mean-
blood splatter here and you're trying to read the text at the same time.
Well, it looks like a horror movie, so
Yeah.
there's that.
I think it's just
Um,
exciting to see Dario Argento
I mean,
back at it.
really, the only we're gonna expose ourselves here, but the only one we've seen is Suspiria so far. So we have to catch up
I haven't
on
even
a
seen
lot of them.
Suspiria, so I need to watch
okay.
that.
You seen more?
No, but
Oh.
you bought me for Christmas. Chad just bought me, I think, like 10 Giallo films.
Well,
So-
Well, it's really cool because a lot of them are Arrow releases. So Arrow's kind of like a horror thriller kind of like equivalent of like Criterion.
Okay,
you
so
can
they're like nice quality.
so they're like
Yes.
really nice quality. They have like really great like covers, like artwork on the covers, and then they usually come with a lot of like really great like special features and commentary and stuff like
Oh
that.
wow.
Yeah, if there's like especially a more obscure older horror movie and you're trying to
Yeah.
buy it on Blu-ray or DVD, it's probably Arrow's gonna be the one that's
And-
making it.
And if there's like a Guillermo del Toro film that you're trying to check out and you want it on like a nice copy of it, if it's not on Criterion, it's probably on Arrow because
Nice.
Crimson Peak is not a Criterion release, but it is an Arrow release, and I bought that one because I wanted to hear Guillermo talk about Crimson Peak because listening to his commentary for Pan's Labyrinth was really, really funny.
Crimson
and really,
Peak, is that
really
the one with
interesting.
Tom Hiddleston?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom
Yeah,
Hiddleston,
the 2015 one.
Jessica Chastain, Mia Wasikowski. That's a name. And then you have, that's about it. Jim Beaver,
Oh, yeah, Jim
Bobby.
Yeah, but
Alley.
he
I'm gonna have to
was-
watch Suspiria before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch Suspiria before I go see this,
Oh,
Nice.
so I
yeah.
can understand his style.
Yeah, I want to
The
rewatch it.
original.
Yeah.
And
Plus-
then
And the
we haven't
remake.
seen the remake yet, but
Yeah.
Plus,
it's
I've heard
good.
really good things about Suspiria, so
Yeah.
I just haven't had the opportunity to find where I could watch it yet. So,
Gotcha.
Well, and if you like,
all right, so
oh, sorry.
oh, go ahead.
If you like Malignant, that's kind of Malignant was based on a lot of these
Wow.
old Giallo films.
That's a really great point,
Yes.
and I actually really want to rewatch *Malignant*. 'cause
Yeah.
I do
really
too.
love that movie.
Dude, I know a lot of people hate that movie. It was my shit, dude.
Well, that movie is just kind of like it was like really out there and really kind of shocking for not what people expected. I think they probably expected like a flat,
They expected
regular,
stuff like a regular James Wan movie, like
Yes.
a Conjuring or whatever.
and this was fucking batshit crazy.
This
Yeah.
this is not
Wow.
I was
not
like,
a
really?
Conjuring movie.
Oh,
Speaking
yeah.
of Conjuring movies,
Yeah.
that transition just worked by itself. Let's
There
get
you
into the main topic for today. Supernatural movies based on true events. So, I'll start off with the first story if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
So, obviously, when you talk about supernatural movies that are based on true events, you gotta talk about the Conjuring movies. Conjuring 1 came out in 2013, Conjuring 2 that came out in 2016, and then Conjuring 3 that came out in 2021. So I do have the true story of the Perrin family, which is the family from the first Conjuring, as well as the ant-filled poltergeist from Conjuring 2. Let's see. I'm not going to read all this because it is from interesting.com. But it says the true story of The Conjuring begins with the first film was focused on the Perrin family. In January 1971, the Perrin family moved into a 14-room farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, where Carolyn, Roger, and their 5 daughters began to notice strange happenings almost immediately after they moved in. It started small. Carolyn would notice that the broom went missing or seemed to move from place to place on its own. She would hear the sound of something scraping against the kettle in the kitchen when no one was in there. She'd find small piles of dirt in the center of a newly cleaned kitchen floor. The girls began to notice spirits around the house, though for the most part they were harmless. There were a few, however, that were angry. Carolyn allegedly researched the history of the house and discovered that it has been in the same family for 8 generations, that many of them had died under mysterious or horrible circumstances. Several of the children had drowned in a nearby creek, one was murdered, and a few of them hung themselves in the attic. The spirits were all, of course, in the film, Bathsheba was the worst of them of all. Whoever the spirit was, she perceived herself to be the mistress of the house, and she resented the competition my mother posed for that position, said Andrea Perrin, the oldest of the 5 girls. Turns out there was actually a real person named Bathsheba Sherman who lived on the Perrin's property in the mid-1800s. She was rumored to have been a Satanist, and there was evidence that she had been involved in the death of a neighbor's child, though no trial ever took place. She was buried in a nearby Baptist Cemetery in downtown Harrisville. According to Andrea, the family experienced other spirits as well that smelled like rotten flesh and would cause the beds to rise off the floor. She claimed her father went into the basement and feel a cold, shrinking presence behind him. They often stayed away from the dirt floor cellar, but the heating equipment would also fail mysteriously, causing Roger to venture down. Over the 10 years the family lived in the house, the Warrens made multiple trips to investigate. At one point, Lorraine conducted a seance to attempt to contact spirits that were possessing the house. During the seance, Carolyn Perrin became possessed, speaking in tongue and raising from the ground in the chair. So, I'm just going to get out of the way. I don't know if I believe this at all.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Most of these stories I don't believe. I actually have listened to one of my favorite podcasts, and it deals with a lot of like horror themes. It's called Ghosted with Roz Dresfeles, and she talks to people about their ghost stories and sometimes like, I don't know, like alien abduction stories. She's had Andrea Perrin on a couple times now.
Wow.
Although it's never, I mean, it's kind of easier to believe like little small stories, like someone's little small ghost story than like all this crazy shit that the Perrin family says happened to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a creepy story. You know, I'm one who I want to believe in like supernatural things and ghosts and stuff like that, but then again, I don't, because it's creepy as hell. So I don't know. I've never seen anything crazy or supernatural personally, but it doesn't stop me from, if I ever watch like a really creepy, like, you know, Watch Mojo ranking, or, you know, a ghost story somewhere, or just hear a ghost story, or listen to the podcast Lore, even, where people just talk really creepy about like really creepy things. I get creeped out very easily. And so even just like scrolling through this article you posted and looking at some of these damn pictures, I'm like, oh my God, these pictures are terrifying. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's just a very creepy story. I don't really feel like it seems very unique. It's a very well-made movie though. I think The Conjuring is great, and I actually love The Conjuring 2 as well.
I do too.
And yeah, I mean, we can also get in a conversation about the Warrens themselves.
Let's see. How am I going to say this while still being respectful of the dead? Let's see.
Stick to the facts.
I don't believe the stories that they were told, or that they told people.
I know Kerri has a lot of opinions on that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I think some of this stuff may happen. Maybe the small stuff. Maybe they did show up to the Perrin family's house. But if you listen to other members of the Perrin family, they seem like they didn't even show up. Or that they showed up and they did something and walked out.
So that's actually interesting, Hunter. And I think that is the truth. And a lot of that is because, especially, I think finally for the third Conjuring film, they got more rights. But for the first two, these are actually stories where the Warrens were only tangentially involved. Because
the Demonologist book, right?
Yeah, the Warrens had, they worked with an author to publish a lot of their stories into books. And that author holds all the copyrights to the stories and the events surrounding what happened and what the Warrens did. So when I can't remember what studio makes the Conjuring films.
Warner Bros.
What?
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I thought it was Warner Brothers. So when Warner Brothers went out to make the movies, either they couldn't get the rights or didn't want to bother to purchase them. And so that's why they did things like the Enfield Poltergeist and the Perrin family haunting, where the Warrens actually weren't very involved at all. Okay, but the movies make it out to seem like they're the big heroes, like, because that's what you have to do. It'd be silly not to for the movie. But
which I don't know how I feel about. Like, I love the Conjuring movies. I actually love 3. I think 3 is a really good investigating story. But I don't know how I feel about you making real people into superheroes almost.
Yeah, it's very Christian superhero, and I think the third one actually is my least favorite because it really goes hard into
I mean, yeah, I hear that a lot, and I'll just say I actually like how realistic the movie feels when it comes to the trial. It feels more gritty in this one, which I love. It feels like you're watching more of a documentary, which I love. But there are moments where you're just like, okay, so apparently Lorraine Warren can just, not only speak to ghosts, but she can she's like a telepath now. She can read minds. You're just like, what the hell? Like, come on, man.
What do you think, Chad?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I hear your guys' complaints and I understand them. And yeah, it makes sense. I do like that they took I mean, it's weird because they didn't change the names or anything like that, but it's kind of cool, because they made at least 2 really good horror movies with these characters, and I feel like they've done a really good job at kind of developing, making them feel like good characters with a good relationship and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And 3 was kind of actually also really focused on their relationship, I think, and I think the movies really work when they do that. But other people might disagree. I think they're just a couple great horror characters. The people that they're based on, I don't know much about. I know you and Kerri know a lot more about that. But
I think from what I remember reading interviews, Ed Warren was actually really hard to get along with.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that as well.
So he's not sitting in there in someone's house playing
guitar to Elvis?
No.
He's not doing that in real life?
Sadly, no. But I mean, I haven't heard any bad things about Lorraine, actually. I've actually heard really good things about her, that she was like the calming presence when these families would be scared. She would find ways to calm them down.
Yeah.
Which I really love, that calming presence. But again, Ed wasn't, a monster or anything. He had his moments too, but I think I've heard more where he was more combative than she was.
Okay.
He'd be willing to fight somebody more than trying to talk to them.
Fight the demon. He's like Russell Crowe.
He's like, come on. Yeah, come here, demon. So I had this kind of going off topic a little bit, but kind of staying on true events. I remember my parents telling me this. I don't know if it's true or not, but when I was younger, apparently I would sit at the edge of my bed in the dark and talk to a little boy down the hallway.
Oh my God, Hunter.
And I don't know if this is true because I don't remember because I was so young. But I would sit up, look down the hall, and be like, "There's a boy at the end of this."
Hunter, stop it! You had an imaginary friend?
No, I didn't even know who that was. He scared me, apparently, according to what my mom said.
Oh my gosh!
Maybe when I was younger, I had a ghost experience. I don't know.
You might have, yeah. That's crazy. I love that shit. We have the opposite reaction.
Kerri's like, cool, I want one.
Well, I don't want one, but I just love hearing people's ghost stories.
Apparently. I know Kerri, before we get into another topic, Kerri had thoughts, and sorry I'm putting you on the spot, but you had some thoughts about The Devil Made Me Do It and the case that it was on. It was really interesting when you were talking about that.
I think we're getting to 3 later.
Oh, yeah, so all right. Well, then we'll get back to it.
Yeah, so 3's coming up in just a second. I do want to bring up The Conjuring 2, which is the ant-filled poltergeist. So, 6 years after the parent family was terrorized by their demon, another family in Enfield, England, began to experience similar things. In August of 1977, the Hodge family started seeing and hearing strange things. Jeanette, who was 11 at the time, recalled sitting up in bed to see her dresser slide across the room that she shared with her brothers. She shouted, "Mom, Mom," said Janet. were sort of frightened, but also intrigued. Later, the family began hearing knocking come from all sorts of places in the house. She remembered her mom thinking there were burglars or drifters hiding in their home and calling the police to investigate. The officer who arrived reported witnessing seeing a chair rise up and move across the floor on its own. Reported from the Daily Mirror, who were also called in to report on the Enfield haunting experience themselves too. Legos and marbles were reported flying around the room, hot to the touch when picked up. Clothing folded on tabletops would leap off and fly across the room. The sounds of dog barking would be heard in the empty rooms. Light would flicker, coins would drop out of thin air, and furniture would spin and tip over without being touched. Then one day, the iron fireplace in the upstairs bedroom was ripped out of the wall. After that, paranormal investigators from all over the world showed up, claiming to be able to contact spirits and wanting to know more about the Enfield haunting. Most of them decided that the children had been faking their experiences, as one of them had admitted to doing so on one occasion, but the Warrens were different. They showed up and immediately believed that a demonic presence were present. However, their claims were overlooked, as a noted skeptic at the Times accused Ed Warren of exaggerating and even making up incidents, often transforming a haunting into one case of demonic possession. This is where the story differs from the movie, and there are no exorcism-like practices from the Warrens. In 1979, 2 years after they began, the hauntings abruptly stopped, though the family maintains they did nothing to stop them. Now, this one, I feel different on this one than I do about the Perrin investigation, only because we have actual footage and video evidence.
Ooh.
Like, there's an actual recording, because I did a lot of research with this when Conjuring 2 came out, because it intrigued me so much.
Okay.
There was a actual recording of Janet sounding like Bill Wilkins, saying her name was Bill, in that tone of voice that, an older 70-year-old man who'd been spoken for his life. And when shown to Bill Wilkins' son, he said, "That is the voice of my father."
Wow. Isn't that what they played at the end of The Conjuring 2?
Yeah, they did.
I think that's kind of like one of the things that gives the Conjuring movies a really cool vibe, is that it has that like realistic like footage and stuff. That's what made like Sinister so scary, is when they played like realistic like footage of things, or like, realistic audio clips of things, and just gives it that tone, and you're like, oh my god. This
and also
real.
like another thing I will bring up is this one might be true, and I'll say this only because if it was just a family, I'd be like, maybe they're doing it for attention. They need money. But the cop said that she saw a chair float and then go across the room. That's from someone not in the family, someone who doesn't even know the family, who was called for something completely different.
Yeah.
That's what sticks in my head. It's like, if it's the family, maybe you can say they wanted attention and wanted fame from it. But when someone from the outside also sees it, it's like eyewitnesses.
That's a good point.
Yeah. No, this one I think is one of the more, I don't know, and especially it like kind of they said it just stopped, and they didn't, I feel like if you were making up a story, you might say like, oh, we did this and that stops it. But
yeah, you give a reason.
It just stops and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really done too much research. I just kind of heard what you said. I need to like look into some of these things more, because they are very interesting stories.
There's a documentary on it from BBC. I think you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I need to check that out. But yeah, I think the movie itself is just real. I prefer The Conjuring 2 over The Conjuring, because I just love the things that they, speaking of chairs, the things that they do with the visual style of the chair, when they focus on like the one creepy chair and you're like, what is going on with that chair?
There's also really cool looking scenes. Like the first time that Janet in the movie talks like Bill Wilkins, and they actually show the girl talking, and that had to take a lot of fucking effort to make this 12-year-old girl sound like a 70-year-old man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't know. It's just for some reason I don't know why it just feels like when you have like a British haunting, it feels scarier. Does that make sense?
Well, because Americans are like so used to
We're
hauntings in
scary
America
already, so
that it's like, not the Brits too.
yeah, exactly. No, they got them.
They got them too. What's next? The Canadians? They're
Well,
all
anything,
fucked.
especially like,
Canadian.
I don't know. Never mind. I was gonna say something that doesn't make any sense. Never mind.
Well,
Scratch it.
Are we moving on?
Moving on.
Yeah. All right. So, Kerri, go ahead and take up the Conjuring 3.
Oh, okay. Wait, should I do one of the ones that I researched, or do we
Well,
want
let's just
to?
do Conjuring.
Yeah, you
3
can.
now.
Well,
I thought
just
you knew stuff about the case and stuff.
not that much.
Oh, well.
I mean,
looked it
I can
up.
take over if you don't mind.
What?
I said I
Take
can.
over.
Yeah,
can talk about the Conjuring
yeah.
Three.
I think we should just do the ones that we've. Sorry to get all off topic, but we should just do the ones we each researched, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And we don't
Yeah,
have to
that-
run through them all tonight if we don't have time, because I know we're
That's
already,
completely fine.
an hour.
All right. You want to go to the Exorcism of Emily Rose?
If you want, maybe we can just do like the finish up with the Conjuring 3, and then we can do I have something else to add at the end of that, and then maybe we can do a part 2 or part 3, I guess, at this point.
Oh, I mean, I don't mind being here a little bit later. It doesn't.
Okay,
It doesn't
well,
bother me at all.
Okay.
It doesn't matter then.
Well, it's up to you then whether you want to move on to The Exorcist or if you want to stick with The Conjuring and just do The Conjuring 3.
I think we should do the Conjuring 3 and round that off.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and talk about the story of Conjuring 3. The Devil Made Me Do It. So this is based on the case of Arne Johnson, who I believe he killed his landlord and then was the first to claim that the devil made him do it, which means that he was possessed by the devil. It says, this is from bugspace.com. It says Arne Johnson's trial was the first known court case in the United States in which defense attempted to prove innocence by relying on defendant's claims of demonic possession and denial of personal responsibility for the crime. The case was widely publicized as The Devil Made Me Do It. To the police, the murder of... This is just... I think this just says his last name on here. So it's Bono, B-O-N-O, appeared to be a clear-cut case. But after his arrest, Arne claimed that he killed his landlord because the devil forced him to. He had the help of 2 paranormal investigators and Lorraine Warren to back up his claims. Arne Johnson stabbed his landlord, Alan Bono, 22 times with a 5-inch pocket knife on the morning of February 16th, 1981. Brookfield's residents were taken aback by this murder because it was the first recorded in the town's 193-year history. Arne was just another normal adolescent with no criminal record before this day. It was not an unusual crime. Someone became enraged, and the argument ensured we couldn't have a simple, uncomplicated murder. Instead, the entire world descended on Brookfield. The Post was told by then police chief John Anderson. Arne called in sick from his job at the Right Tree service in the morning, and joined Debbie at the kennel, where he worked alongside her sister Wanda and Debbie's cousin Mary. Arne repeatedly plunged a 5-inch pocket knife into Alan Bono's chest on a quiet day in February. Bono died within an hour, and Arne was apprehended 2 miles away from the crime scene. Months later, he stood in the dock and pleaded not guilty, claiming the devil forced him to do it. Attorney Martin Minella, M-I-N-E-L-L-A, claimed Arne was possessed and he had evidence to prove it. The court have dealt with the existence of God. Now they're having to deal with the existence of the devil, he told the New York Times in 1981 after the stabbing. If the devil made him do it statement wasn't strange enough to the court, the defense team argued that it all started with Arne's fiance's brother, 11-year-old David Glatzel. defense claimed that David was cured of his demonic possession, but the demon jumped into Arne Johnson, thus he had no control over his body. According to the family, so this is the family testimony, the Gretzel family testimony. According to the family, their 11-year-old son, David, was a host to the demon. David claimed to have come across an old man who would taught him. The family members dismissed David's story, believing it was his way of avoiding chores. The encounters became more and more frequent over time. David would wake up in the middle of the night crying and describing a man with a big black eyes, a thin face, jagged teeth with animal features, pointed ears, horns, and hoofs. Basically a demon. After witnessing weird occurrences, the Gretzel family finally decided to seek assistance. Anne Lorraine Warren were contacted by Father Dennis, who was a pastor of St. Joseph's Church in Brookville at the time. Dennis called them and told him he tried to help David, but it appeared to be a case of possession to him. According to the family, when David was possessed, he would kick, bite, swear, and say horrible things. It would be strangled by an invisible hand that tried to pull from his neck, and powerful forces would flop him from head to toe like a rag doll. Arne stayed with the family at the time and tried to assist David because they had formed a strong bond. However, the problems too started happening during the day. David would describe an elderly man with a white beard who wore a flannel shirt and jeans to his family. And he described the man's suspicious voice would emerge from the attic. Following a examination of David's condition, the Warrens came to the conclusion that he was a victim of demonic possessions. Following the claims, the psychiatrist who investigated the case claimed that David only had a learning disability. The Warrens performed a formal exorcism of David, which lasted several days until, according to those present, a demon fled from the child's body and took up residence within Arne. Several months later, the demon took up residence in Arne. He murdered his landlord party. Gerald Brittle's book, The Devil in Connecticut, details these events. So, very interesting case, to say the least.
Yeah, I remember doing a lot of research when this movie came out, and not being really convinced that the devil made him do it. It sounded more like a drunken altercation where money was involved. But although I will say it is odd that that his girlfriend's brother was possessed, a few months beforehand. But maybe that's just where he got the idea, in my mind, is the more likely explanation.
Maybe. I will say the one thing that makes me kind of believe this story in a way, is it doesn't seem like something Arne would do. According to his family, according to people who knew him, according to people in the town that he lived in, he wasn't someone who liked partying or getting drunk or whatever. And he wasn't someone who would look for a fight. So the fact that, and this is a town that for over 100 years hasn't had any violent murders. And it's this, quiet, nice guy who just snaps one day, doesn't really sound logical.
I mean, that's kind of like when you think about like serial killers or just like any killers. That's kind of like the same story that you hear all the time. Is they were quiet. They didn't seem like they would do something like that. They were really
to a point, but also like there are some telltale signs. Like even Ted Bundy, you could tell he would be up to something because he was so full of himself. He had some sort of narcissistic personality disorder.
But you also have a thing too, like you said it yourself, like someone can actually snap. Like the explanation doesn't have to be the devil made me do it. The explanation could just be, he had a dissociative identity disorder and snapped and just did something. And then he, like Mickey in Scream 2, is like, I'm going to blame the devil. It's going to be sweet.
Yeah. Like, I don't believe that he was possessed by the devil. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to play devil's advocate. Funny enough.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah, see what I did there?
I am curious about why the director and the writer and Warner Brothers took this direction with the movie, because it does, to me, it kind of like, it's like we're taking, this landlord died and we're taking this case and saying we're really leaning into, I mean, in the movie, for movie purposes, right, it's very clear that it's like a supernatural occurrence. So I don't know, to me that's a little like, you could have picked a case that maybe didn't involve someone dying in real life or something, but I don't know. It is what it is. I don't make those kinds of decisions.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that they decided to kind of shoot themselves in the foot by being like, this innocent man got murdered. Let's instead tell the story about an actual possession.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of weird, because then it kind of seems like you're blaming everyone else except for the person that did the deed.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of one of the things that turned me off about that movie. They also have a lot of like, that movie especially, it was like, oh, if you had a black candle, you're a witch and you worship the devil. It was a little went
Black
like
flame
that.
candle.
Yeah.
Only if you're a virgin, you like that black flame candle. You better be careful. You better get the hell out of there. That's all I'm trying to say.
Excuse me. I thought I muted myself.
It's a really interesting case.
It is a very intriguing case, because you're still not sure what really happened.
Yeah.
You don't know if it was just maybe he snapped, maybe it was something personal, maybe it was. And another thing I didn't like that the movie did, like, I still like the movie. It's probably my least favorite of the trilogy.
Oh yeah.
But the one thing I hate that they did was they treated the victim like he was an asshole. Maybe he was. I don't know. Maybe he was, but still, like, the dude got stabbed multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to, like, make him out to be the villain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. It's a weird story, but should we move on to the most famous haunting stories out there? Chad or Kerri, do you guys want to take the Amityville horror?
Well, I did want to add on to real quick before we get off the Conjurings. The one really cool thing I also really like about that universe is the whole Annabelle thing, because this is one of my favorite kind of creepy stories to hear about, or like the dolls that are apparently haunted, and it plays into the Annabelle movies and Child's Play and stuff like that. Where
I saw both those movies in the same day.
Oh wow!
Annabelle 3 and Child's Play back to back.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I like all of the Annabelles except for I haven't seen the first one, which is apparently not great.
The first one is terrible.
But yeah, that real Annabelle doll, if you haven't checked it out, it's not. So the movies make it like look way like what you would think of as a really creepy doll, but the real Annabelle is like a Raggedy Ann doll. To me, is like way creepier because it's not trying to look creepy.
Nice,
and it's just like that thing's haunted, and like you hear the stories, and then you see Robert the doll, which is another one that you see like in like a case, and people are swear to God that like when they've owned these dolls, crazy shit has happened. So
apparently, if you touch the glass of Annabelle or you disrespect her in real life, like the real Annabelle doll, you'll get in a car crash on your way home.
I did hear that. That's insane.
Yep.
Oh my God.
and that's why Annabelle, if you're listening, don't haunt me. Okay?
we respect you, Annabelle. We respect you, Robert the doll. Please don't come after us.
Please don't kill us.
Chucky. Brad Dourif, please come kill us.
Brad Dourif. Mark Hamill, please put your lightsaber away.
All right, so we can move on to Amityville horror. I just like the doll stuff. I thought that was really funny.
Oh yeah. Do you guys want to take over the story for this one?
Yeah, you want to do this one?
Yeah, I can do this one.
You have a whole article.
Okay. All right.
You don't have to read all of it like I did if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Read the cliff notes.
I'll try to summarize it as best I can. And I did read the book that the movie is based on. By
All
Jay.
the movies, like all 7 of them.
Yeah. Well, the first movie covers the first one. The remake with Ryan Reynolds covers the one book, and then they just go buck wild, I guess, after that.
That one did have Ryan Reynolds in it, didn't it?
Yeah.
2005.
Yeah. Okay.
It's still weird. Still weird to think of.
So, in the Long Island town of Amityville, there's this iconic looking house. It's iconic now. And unfortunately, in 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his entire family while they slept. His parents and his 4 siblings. And he, anyways. But Ronald DeFeo said that it's another devil made me do it story. He said he was hearing voices and that the devil told him to kill his family. Jump forward of almost a little over a year later, the house is sold to the Lutz family, and it's sold for a ridiculously low price because 6 people
5
were
people
murdered.
died. Yeah.
5 people? Okay. Oh, so I think one of his siblings. Oh, okay.
No, you're right, 6.
6 people died, yeah. And died very violently.
$80,000. Damn, it's cheap.
Yeah. And even for a house on Long Island, that was very cheap.
Any house in New York.
Yeah. So the Lutz family lasted less than a month before leaving the house. They wound up writing a book with Jay Anson about their experiences. They said they would wake up at 3:15 in the morning, which is the time that Ronald DeFeo carried out the murders. They smelled strange odors in the house. They alleged that green slime would ooze out of the walls. I know I remember from the book, they saw some sort of like demonic looking pig out the window.
God damn.
Yeah. And when a priest came to bless the house, he allegedly heard a voice scream, "Get out." And then he told the Lutzes not to sleep in that particular house. Are you okay? Is it the pig?
It's just Hunter saying, "God damn."
The husband claimed that he woke up to his wife levitating on the bed. The children claimed to have levitated on the beds. So they basically left without packing up any of their stuff and just left town and never moved back. And it's really mixed. I think Jay Anson eventually came out and said that the stories were a hoax, or someone really close to the family came out and said it was all a hoax. And then, the family was really in financial difficulty. And even though the house was at a reduced price, they couldn't even afford it at that price and decided just to get out rather than, being evicted or something. So there's a lot of skepticism, I think, that's come to light with this story in subsequent years, but it has brought us one of the most iconic horror films and iconic horror stories to have ever existed.
Yeah. I think all the supernatural stuff, ghost stuff, is very kind of creepy to think about if it were true. But honestly, like, this is another one, like the last story, that's even just scarier than your average ghost story, just because you have the idea of a dude that killed his entire family. And then there's a haunting afterwards. And honestly, that's kind of like one of the scariest true crime stories you can hear about, is just somebody who just went nuts and just killed their entire family. Like someone you're supposed to put all your trust, you share a house, you sleep next to them, and the idea that they could one day just end up killing you and
your child,
your children, and it's just scary as hell to think about. And then moving into that house and just thinking about like some dude with an axe running around.
I think it was a gun.
A gun, or I have my own imagination. Okay. But yeah, it's just crazy, like, images, and just I can't even imagine like moving into a house where I might have known that happened. Even if I paid way less money for it, I might kind of chill and not buy that house.
Yeah, and so I think I was mistaken earlier when I said the author Jay Anson was the one who said it was a fraud. I think it was actually the Lutz's lawyer, William Weber, who said that they all came up with the horror story over many bottles of wine. Although he also had a falling out with them apparently over money issues, so he might have just wanted to get revenge.
Well, I mean, I would say that if it is a fraud case here, which it probably is, hey, they constructed a really interesting story. I mean, they blended this real, actual creepy ass event that happened, and then they made like some crazy ass story that's really creepy, and then like it spawns like an entire, like a book and an entire franchise of movies and stuff like that. So
yeah, I will say the other thing that kind of leans toward it not being a real haunting, is that no other family who has lived in the house subsequently has reported any hauntings. They've insisted they've had no experiences. But it can just be, like we were just talking about with the Enfield Poltergeist case, that one seemed to have just stopped for no reason.
Those people might be dumb. They could be getting some money right now. I don't know what the hell they're what the hell they're doing, we could probably circle. I think Hunter's having some internet issues, so we could probably circle back around to this one after he jumps back in and let him give his thoughts. But we can move on if you want. Maybe we could tackle one of the classic horror films ever made. Maybe the best horror film ever made.
One of the few nominated for Oscars.
We'll get into that at a later date.
So yeah, we can just get into, while we're waiting for Hunter, start talking about The Exorcist and The Exorcism of Emily Rose, two real-life exorcist stories. So as you probably know, the movie The Exorcist is based on a book of the same name by William Peter Blatty. He drew inspiration from a story he heard as a student at Georgetown University, very close to where we live. The story was about a local exorcism that occurred in 1949. And the exorcism was of a boy, not a little girl, like in the book and the movie. I think Hunter's back.
We'll just continue. You finish
okay.
out.
So journalist and author Mike Opshenik, I'm sorry if I'm probably mispronouncing that, did some research into the real life story in the late 1990s and uncovered some previously unknown and maybe mistaken details. And he's published a book called The Real Story Behind the Exorcist, if you want to read more about it. But basically, the exorcism was of a 14-year-old boy from Cottage City, Maryland.
Hey, I'm back.
Hey, you're back. Okay, we started talking about the Exorcist. But should we continue?
You should continue with The Exorcist, and we'll circle back to it.
No worries.
Okay. So The Exorcism actually didn't take place in D.C. It took place, the 14-year-old boy was from Maryland, but the exorcism took place in St. Louis, Missouri. It was performed by two Jesuit priests, William Bowdern and William Halloran. There are some conflicting accounts of, whether this was a real possession or not. Some say the boy was a prankster, a notorious prankster in the neighborhood, and thought the exorcism was a prank. Others say the parents and the boy went through a lot of similar events as in the movie, where the boy went to a lot of doctors and had a ton of tests done, and no one could really figure out what was wrong with him. His family members said there was some telekinetic activity during the possession. And William Halloran, the assistant during the exorcism, said that the boy became so violent he broke Halloran's nose. And he also reportedly saw streaks and arrows and words like hell in the boy's skin. apparently, whether or not there was a real exorcism, whatever happened worked. The boy apparently went on to live a pretty normal life. And I think the director of The Exorcist, William Friedkin, said he actually like worked for NASA or something. The boy's identity has always been protected though, which is probably, best for him and his family.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I think if anything, whether this was real or not, I could actually see. I mean, I could see ghosts being a real thing, but like, I don't know, for some reason, like I could see like exorcisms and like demons possessing people being like a real thing. I kind of believe this story a little more, I think, than some of the other ones, maybe, especially the ones that were trying to get out of like prosecution for crimes and stuff.
Those are always the hardest ones to believe.
Yeah, but this one, it's just very creepy. I mean, the movie is so scary and so.
One of the greatest horror movies of all time.
It is for sure. And Kerri was right. We actually live not that far away from, not where it, I guess, actually took place, but the stairs from the movie. And I kind of want to visit there, take some pictures and stuff like that, like as people are
so cool
want to do and stuff like that. But yeah, like the idea of someone getting possessed by a demon and having to be exorcised is just scary as hell, dude.
Mm-hmm. So, did you guys talk about going back to the Amityville real quick? Because I missed a large chunk of it. Did you guys bring up the many questions of how true lots of stories were?
Yeah. So we talked about that. Do you want to weigh in on that, Hunter?
The only things I will say is that George and Kathy took a lie detector test to prove their innocence. They passed. That doesn't really tell me a lot because you can. Lie detectors are so like easy to manipulate and trick. But I want to add this. The murderer, Ronald, how do you say his last name? DeFeo. He's still alive today and serving 6 25-year life sentences at a New York correctional facility. Claims he's heard voices urging him to kill his family. He has since changed his story multiple times.
Yeah,
I don't. Conflicting rumors there. So I don't know how.
That seems like he was definitely someone who just said that to try to get out of it. And I just wanted to note really quick before I forget, the source for our Amityville horror research was largely from a biography.com article. And then for the Exorcist research, I just talked about, that was largely from Wikipedia, an article in the Washington Post by Susan Solney, another Washington Post obituary of William Halloran, and an Entertainment Weekly article by Anthony Bresnikan.
Yeah, I mean, if dude, is like a psychopath, honestly, I'm just like very confused. There had to have been like so much anger involved in that, because I'm sitting here thinking like,
how can you do
you're
that?
A psychopath, a lot of the times you're at least going to be logical about like, why would you want to spend 25 years unless you really thought you could do it and get away with it?
I think he thought he could do it and get away with it.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's like Mickey in Scream 2. Bringing that back again. So have you guys talked about Exorcism of Emily Rose yet? Or are you getting to that one right now?
No, we can do that one now.
Well, I mean, do you have any thoughts on the Exorcist Case, the original one?
Well, first, the movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. One of my favorite horror movies of all time. The case, I'm kind of like you, Chad. I'm more willing to believe this than over a case where someone claimed to be like, the devil made me do it. And only because it's a true family account. You don't just have the kid, you have the parents, you have other people involved, just like with Conjuring 2, with the infant poltergeist. I'm more inclined to believe it when people outside the family have said that they saw something weird.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where I am on this one. So yeah, let's move on to The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which is one of my favorite supernatural possession movies. It's so good.
I need to see this one. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I actually
It has
really like
Deborah
this.
Morgan in it.
Yeah.
Yes, Deborah. Yep.
All right, do you guys want to read this one?
Yeah, I can go through it real quick. So yeah, less popular, less iconic, but like Hunter said, it's still a really scary, really good horror movie. Forms the basis of the 2005 movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. The movie is set up as a supernatural horror legal drama following Emily's exorcism, which resulted in her death. And it's basically the priest is put on trial. And it stars like Tom Wilkinson is the priest, Laura Linney is his defense attorney, and Jennifer Carpenter, aka Deborah Morgan, is Emily Rose.
We're not big fans of Laura Linney right now.
It's a you're
long
not
story.
just because you watched Mystic River. She's great.
She's amazing.
Mr. Who?
Mystic River.
Oh, Mystic River.
Yeah. Her character is not great in that movie. So the movie is loosely based on the exorcism of Anneliese Michel. I think that's how you would pronounce that, in Germany in the 1970s. When Anneliese was 16, she had a seizure and was diagnosed with psychosis caused by temporal lobe epilepsy and was later diagnosed with depression. Within the next few years, she became intolerant of religious objects and started hearing voices. When medication did nothing to improve her worsening symptoms, her parents became convinced that Anneliese was possessed. While the Catholic Church...
I'm sorry. The way you're like, I'm sorry, but like my depressed daughter is getting worse. That means she's possessed.
Yep. And so the Catholic Church, when they went through the official means, the Catholic Church twice rejected the family's request for an exorcism. Eventually, though, 2 priests got permission from a local bishop. So it seems like this wasn't really officially sanctioned by the Catholic Church the way it's supposed to be. The Catholic Church actually just does not actually do exorcisms. But they were like, it's so incredibly rare. Anyways, the parents and priests stopped consulting doctors. They performed 67 exorcism sessions on Anneliese. The sessions ultimately resulted, so she eventually died from dehydration and malnutrition. And her parents and the 2 priests were all convicted of negligent homicide.
I mean,
I got all this info from Wikipedia.
We don't have great mental health care as it is. You think
today
they had in the 70s and a great mindset on how to deal with people with mental health. But also, I just want to say, Anneliese, that's a pretty creepy name associated with exorcism,
sadly,
demonic stuff. I don't know, when I think of something like Anneliese and demons, I don't know.
That sounds like a name of a supernatural horror film.
And right now, anytime I ever hear the name Reagan, even when it's associated with the president, the former president, I'm like, Reagan.
Oh no.
Watch the stairs.
Yeah, watch some stairs, man. This is a sad case.
Yeah.
And this may come off as weird, but they deserve to be on trial.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Just like the fact that you knew she was going through depression, she had depression, and your first thought wasn't, let me see if I can up the dosage of this medicine. Maybe it was a low dose, but no, your first response is it's a demon possession.
Well, I will say it was like a 5-year. I didn't mention this. It's 5 years that she was on medication, and it wasn't, her symptoms were worsening. I think it's probably just they needed to try more medications, or maybe it just
try different medications, up the dosage.
I do have a question. Was at any of these points, was she on the ceiling?
No.
Because if someone's on the ceiling, I'm jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, it mostly also seemed to be, at least from what I found, there could be more out there, but from what I found, there didn't seem to be a lot of these stories. They allege there's some sort of telekinesis or something, sort of outside what the person's feeling and experiencing. This seemed to be all within this poor girl, Annalise, that she was just hearing things and experiencing some deep psychosis.
The one thing that I hate about this story is that it's only going to be talked about because of the possession. The possession. You're almost never going to hear someone talk about the impact of the depression, what they could have done instead, talk about mental health, how they could improve that. It's weird that we love these supernatural movies. Me personally, I don't love them for the jump scares or anything. I love them for what it does to the families and the family's psyches and their mental state. But also, like, I didn't hear anything in the Annalise case that made me think demon possession. It wasn't like she was on the walls or anything. She was depressed. And that kind of shows that we're not even good with mental health today, let alone in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fucking sad.
Yeah.
Let's
this
move
is a real
on.
sad one.
All right, Chad, do you want to take over this one?
I'll let actually Kerri move on to her next one.
Well,
that's okay.
Okay.
Or I have another one I can cover.
Do you want to do one of the ones you researched?
Absolutely. Let's do this. I don't have a ton, but we did. I had to do a debate not that long ago where I had to fight for A Nightmare on Elm Street is the greatest horror film of the 1980s. I do believe it's up there. I do believe it's up there for sure. It may be the greatest, but I did fight for that. And because of that, we watched the entire, it's very long. It's like 4 hours long. We would watch the entire Never Sleep Again documentary. So we learned a little bit about the true story for that. And then I just kind of read something off of, I don't know, I can't remember my story. I think it was Wikipedia. But yeah, basically, I said Wes Craven got the idea for A Nightmare on Elm Street based on a couple different sources, apparently where there was a series of articles about refugees from Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam suffering from disturbing nightmares, refusing to sleep, and in some cases dying in their sleep. And the phenomenon was named Asian Death Syndrome, which may be a little racist. I'm not sure. I said Wes also talked about in the documentary Never Sleep Again, a boy he heard about who also experienced such vivid nightmares that the terror of going to sleep made him stay awake and keep a coffee pot by his bed, like we see with Nancy Thompson in the movie. Yep. And Craven took these stories and made one of the scariest films ever made and spawning one of the greatest horror franchises ever made. I mean, and exactly like I said in the debate that I had before, is that it's just kind of like one of the scariest things to be afraid of your own bodily functions and sleep and just, like
it's something you can't escape.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's like, it really gets down to the core of what we're afraid of. They made an iconic horror monster out of it that, infest your dreams.
What's funny is you brought up Freddy Krueger in this episode, and this show's called Welcome to Primetime.
Yeah.
So
that's how iconic Freddy is. He has some of the best lines.
Yeah.
Some of the best kills. He's just a great icon.
So, Kerri, thoughts on the true events that inspired Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, it seems like these are mostly just really, again, sad cases. It doesn't really seem like there's anything like, they spawned a supernatural type movie, but really nothing supernatural about the actual true events. Just something very, very terrifying. I mean,
maybe,
Or
but
yeah,
maybe
we
not,
never
because
know.
I know that like you and I, we've watched documentaries and stuff about what is it called, sleep paralysis
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, which has been said to have a supernatural occurrence. I've experienced this myself. I think a lot
Thank
of people
God I
have.
haven't.
I think a lot of people have, where you're kind of awake, but you're not, and but you can't move. For the life of you, cannot move. You're just paralyzed, but you're kind of aware of everything.
Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't have any like supernatural experiences, but people have reported that they
I
have.
have.
You have? Okay. Well,
Whoa.
I guess I can tell this story. I had
Please
it a couple
do.
times in college, and I can tell you guaranteed it was due to it was when I had very bad sleep habits. Oh no, Hunter's gone.
I know. I'm still
You're
here.
still here. You're still here?
I'll put you on full screen.
Oh, okay. It's not that exciting. So basically it happens a couple times. I would wake up, not be able to move, but feel totally awake. And then I would like hear footsteps, like banging loud footsteps, coming towards my door. And then this demonic voice say my name, like Kerri, like really a lot louder and spooky
Fuck
like that.
Fuck that.
And then woke up, and then it's just like my normal bedroom and like my roommates in the shower playing music, not scary at all. So that's happened. That happened just like a few times. That's happened a few times, but it is generally, for me, I can pin it down to I had very bad sleep habits. But I know a lot of people experience it with like no triggers or anything.
Yeah. But even just not being able to move and being aware is just terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gotta be like. Luckily, I've never experienced that, and I hope I never do. But I like the idea, because I was watching an interview with Wes Craven where he said he heard about these stories in Asia and heard about the people dying in their sleeps, and he said he was like, and it came to me, what if it was something more supernatural? And that's where he came up with the idea for Freddy Krueger. He said he wanted to give a face to what might have caused all that.
Yeah, he crushed it.
Yeah.
It's a very scary movie.
By the way, Robert Englund had a very funny story about how they came up with the makeup for Freddy Krueger. He said that they were at a pizza restaurant and he was messing around with the pepperonis and said that it came out with like, the different holes and stuff like that.
Yeah. I remember them talking about that in the documentary. So that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a big thing. A lot of people are freaked out by like holes like that. So
yeah. And like what's funny is there was a 4-hour documentary on Nightmare on Elm Street and a 6-hour documentary on Friday the 13th.
We still need to.
And I've watched both of them.
Oh, we haven't finished the Friday the 13th one. We did
Crystal
watch
Lake
the
Memories,
Crystal Lake Memories.
Yeah, I watched both of them on Shudder. I love my Shudder count so much.
Yeah, we do too.
So I can actually move on to my last one, and then I know Kerri has another one real quick.
And I think Hunter has Poltergeist too.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll move on to The Shining. This one's not very long. I just have a little bit of it. We know that it's deals with like a haunting in like a hotel. But basically, so Stephen and Tabitha King visited the Stanley Hotel in Colorado in 1974. And it had such an eerie vibe that inspired him to write The Shining. The Stanley Hotel, renamed the Overlook for the book, has been said to be haunted. The room in which the Kings stayed, room 217, was also said to be haunted by the old chief housekeeper, Elizabeth Wilson, who would apparently fold clothes and stuff. King also reported a sighting of a little boy entering his room, which wasn't possible since they were the only guests there. The Stanley Hotel is a popular destination for tourists and paranormal investigators. It's really all I have for that. I don't know. I probably missed a bunch of stuff.
No, I think that's really. I mean, I think that's the story surrounding the book itself, right? Like, there's a ton of stories that have come out about the Stanley Hotel.
And I know even when Mike Flanagan was going to go do Dr. Sleep, apparently he went and stayed there.
Oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
So it's a whole it's a
Yeah,
if you're
because
gonna do a Shining thing, you got to go stay at the Stanley Hotel.
I know there's this YouTube channel I watch dedicated to horror called Dead Meat, and they actually got to hang out with Mike Flanagan at the Overlook or the Stanley
Oh,
Hotel
wow.
Whoa, that's very cool.
and interview him and everything like that. And they had like this little scavenger hunt on the premises where you find these boxes from the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, I love those scenes.
Dude, those scenes are amazing. So yeah, I don't know how much I believe this one just because there's not a lot of accounts of it, but I will say Stephen King has a really good way of tying his real life to his stories. Like the way he came up with Pet Cemetery was literally there was a cemetery on the property that he was on, and his son almost did get hit by a car.
Oh shit!
And he was so terrified that he was like, "What would have happened if I didn't get there on time?" And that became the idea for Pet Cemetery.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like one of the scariest books too. That scared the shit out of me
best.
when I read that
love
one.
that book so much.
Now, kind of going off topic a little bit, but have you guys heard of the band Ice Nine Kills?
You've sent us some of their stuff. Yeah.
So
they have a song based on Pet Cemetery called Funeral Derangements. And they actually have like a video of it, like, a fully productive video. What's funny about this video is it shows the gauge scene where he gets hit by the truck, but the driver of the truck in this one is the kid actor who played in the original movie. So he came back to do the video, and he's running over himself as a kid.
Wow,
that's really cool.
It was like he had an interview after that. He was like, it's kind of weird. Like I ran over my younger character.
Yeah, I remember seeing that actor a lot in the Never Sleep Again as well, because he was like a little Freddy Krueger.
Oh,
he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember who
the
he played.
New Nightmare.
Wait, was he
His
Nancy
little Gage
Thompson's kid?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a creepy hotel story, and The Shining is very scary. I mean, it makes you afraid of little twin girls.
Yep.
And big.
All right, so let's move on to Winchester. You want to do that?
Yeah, I can do that. All right. So
I've never heard of this movie.
It's a very bad movie.
Yeah, I was about to say it's not a great movie. Wouldn't actually recommend it, but the story behind it is very cool. It's a 2018 movie starring Helen Mirren. So the actual story is
Jason Clarke.
The actual story deals with Sarah Winchester. She was married to William Winchester, and that's Winchester like the guns. He was like the head of the Winchester. I don't remember what
the gun and the brother, the Winchester brother. Yeah. Go ahead.
So anyways, William Winchester passed away from tuberculosis, leaving Sarah Winchester with a giant fortune, which she amassed from gun sales. And then around the same time, her infant daughter also passed away from a rare disease.
Aww.
So naturally, it's the late 1800s. Spiritualism is very popular, and she turned to a medium for help. And so the medium she spoke with claimed to have connected Sarah with her deceased husband. And her husband allegedly told her that she should move all the way across the country from Connecticut to California and continuously build a home for herself and the ghosts of the victims of the Winchester rifles. So Sarah did as she was told. She eventually settled down in San Jose, California, and built what is now known as the Winchester Mystery House. She planned the construction herself, and as a result, there's so many weird things about this house. It has doors and stairs that go nowhere, windows that look over other rooms, lots of really odd stuff. And when she lived there, I'm not sure if this is still the case, but at the time she lived there, there was only one working toilet in the house. She also but there were multiple restrooms, only one working toilet. She also
What?
she spent the night in a different room each night. So all of this, the one toilet, but multiple restrooms, the doors and stairs that go nowhere, sleeping in a different room every night. This was all done to confuse the spirits of the victims of the Winchester rifles. And I guess to protect her, I'm not sure. So that's kind of the story behind the house. You can actually go see it. It's been kind of like a tourist destination almost since the time that
of course it is
died. Yeah. And filming for the movie Winchester, actually, it's kind of cool, took place in the house. And not in addition to serving as the basis, like very directly for the movie Winchester, the house was also the inspiration for Disney's Haunted Mansion ride.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you're ever in San Diego,
I imagine movie with Eddie Murphy, right?
Yeah. And my sources for this were just Wikipedia and watching a ton of Travel Channel during high school.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like stories like this and like, you know, weird kind of like disappearances of people when you listen to like true crime podcasts, it just like are some of the scariest things to me. Even more scary than thinking it's like related to ghosts. It's just weird behavior of people that's just never explained. You know, just like she went crazy and she built this house. She started doing these weird things. There was like a story about a missing boy that happened where he did some mysterious things at night and drove his car up a hill and down a hill and stuff like that. I don't know if it's ringing any bells.
You're talking about some other total different case.
But it's related in the fact that it's just very, very strange behavior that has never been explained. And it's just like the unsolved mystery part of it is just so creepy to me. So that's why I brought that up, is because I just feel like that's why this one is so scary to me, because it's just thinking about her just like doing these things and it's never explained. It's just, it gets to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, with these supernatural stories, some I believe, some I don't, depending on the circumstances. I think this is more of a story of grief than everything, than anything else. I think it was her trying to deal with the death of her husband. Maybe some things happened. I don't know. But I think this is more of a case of dealing with grief.
It's also, yeah, like the kind of the guilt of, you know, being the heiress of a, you know, company or organization that made this you know, tool or weapon that ended up killing so many people.
Yeah, because it was the popular thing about Winchesters, where they were I think they were the first repeating rifles, so they, you know, killed more people than rifles ever had before.
Rifles, yeah. That's very, like, I didn't realize it was based on the actual like Winchester rifle family.
Yeah.
I thought it was just someone with the last name Winchester, like Sam and Dean. But
yeah, and it's kind of like you know, the guy who, I guess, Nobel, right, who created gunpowder, and then he ended up or, you know, whatever.
I think you're thinking of the guy who like made the nuclear bomb.
That's it. And then he the nuclear bomb, and he felt so bad that he ended up making the Nobel Peace Prize to promote doing good things.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's hilarious. All right, so let's move on to our last story that I have, at least. The terrifying true case of Poltergeist. And again, I kind of brought this up as well to talk about, which is a topic we can also get into, like, this movie series was probably the most haunted, cursed films in history.
Yeah.
Especially when you dive into, like, sadly, the little girl in the movie passed away. One of the daughters got brutally murdered outside her house by her crazy ex-boyfriend. Then she got shot or stabbed outside her door, something like that. Just so many tragedies that happen on this movie, which is another one we can get into for a full episode, like cursed films.
Movies,
Yeah,
yes.
the Exorcist is very
We can
cursed
get into
as well. Yeah.
huge topic about that. But here's what happened at the Herman house. On the evening of February 3rd, 1958, a man named James Herman from Seaford, Long Island, New York. Long Island again. What the fuck? Received a telephone call at work from his wife, Lucille. She informed him that she and their teenage children, Jimmy and Lucy, heard a series of popping sounds coming from various spots around the house. When they investigated, they found uncapped bottles of several substances completely upended in many different rooms, including a vial of holy water which spilled all over a bedroom dresser. Herman, skeptical of the whole thing, advised his family to stay calm and keep the occurrences to themselves. He believes some prankster teenagers got inside and tried to spook the family. It was important to him to keep things under control, but 5 days later, the same thing happened again, and the next day, it happened again. This time, Mr. Herman watched in horror as the bottles moved about his bathroom, as if dragging by some unseen hand. This time, he called the police. When the police arrived, more bottles began popping throughout the home. They performed a series of tests to rule out radio transmissions or electrical disturbances, but the bottles were not warm or otherwise charged. Whatever was happening to them could not be explained with logic. On February 17th, a priest came into the home to bless it. And then you got like the public reaction, which most of them didn't believe the family. I mean, obviously. And then, how did the event inspire Poltergeist? Fans of the 1982 Tobe Hooper directed, Steven Spielberg produced horror film Poltergeist will recognize the Herman story. It sounds familiar to what the Freeling family goes through. A young, happy family moves into a suburban home with their children and quickly notices disturbances, noise, bent utensils, objects moving about. When the activity increases, they seek help from local university parapsychologist department who comes to investigate the house. Eventually, fed up with the lack of resolution and the disappearance of the daughter, they seek out a psychic who helps them cleanse the house. Obviously, Poltergeist is more centralized in the story of the Hermans. There are physical apparitions, Native American burial grounds, body-chopping portals, and skeletons popping out of the swimming pool. This film was also said to be cursed. Star Dominique Dern and Heather O'Rourke both passed away very young, and other mysterious activities were reported on set. We can't speak true to the curse, but there's definitely a story that follows Poltergeist more than the Hermans. More of that than the Hermans.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. I don't think I knew. I knew there was a story it was based on, but I didn't know kind of the details of it. I don't know. To me, this was one of the ones that's a little more believable because it's actually not very extreme. Like,
yeah, it's small things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest mystery of all is, did Steven Spielberg actually direct this film?
Yeah.
That's one of
He
the
produced
biggest mysteries of all.
Well,
it's like, it's kind of a thing where people go, how much involvement did he have?
Yeah.
That was a joke. Anyways, yeah, no, I don't know. It seems similar to me, every other kind of case. I really just know a lot about, well, not a lot about the movie, but I just know that about the curses and stuff, and I think that's what makes this one a little more unique, even though we haven't touched on, the other cursed films and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's very creepy. Yeah.
So with that, guys, we're almost 2 hours in. This is officially one of our longest episodes. I'm gonna go ahead and announce this, if you guys don't mind, next week's episode. Since we were on the topic of curses and demonic possessions, I really want next week to be about cursed films cursed horror movies, because there is a Shudder documentary miniseries called Cursed Films. I could definitely rewatch that. We could have a lot of different stories about what happened to the actors, what makes this a curse. I think next week is going to be about cursed films.
I love that. I'm excited.
Yeah,
that's gonna be so fun. All right, guys. Now, I do want to make an announcement. We will be next Sunday. we will be trying out Twitch. The twitch.tv/Nerd Entertainment Network will be where you can watch Welcome to Primetime, and we will cut out the story articles for you guys to watch on the YouTube channel. This is something that we're trying for live stream because YouTube, for some reason, does not like long form discussion shows anymore. So we are trying to Twitch TV out to see if maybe that could be our permanent home from now on. So I'm excited to go to Twitch. I'm excited to see how that is going to happen. Chad, Kerri, where people find you online?
I'm not online much, but if you want to see pictures of my cats, my Instagram is Kerri Elizabeth 17.
Yeah,
I love cats.
I do a lot of trivia around, usually over at TMG, but I'm trying to broaden my scope on trivia. I also do like movie battleground debate. That's really fun. I've talked about that a lot. I have my own like channel, Chadwick Webb, where we'd rank stuff. I'm trying to get this Harry Potter video out. So far, we got an Edgar Wright and a Christmas one. And then I also co-host a show with my buddy Dylan Randazzo over at the Dill Pickle Movie Network. It's a show called Picture This. Every month, we go through a year of the Oscars, and we talk about the nominated Best Picture films and winners, and we rank them. We talk about the actors and actresses from that year, the year itself, the Oscar ceremony, stuff like that. This month, we're doing 1967. Next month, we're doing, in light of the passing of Sidney Poitier, and then in Black History Month, and then next month, we're doing 2021 films for Oscars. And last month we did 1980. We had the critic Dan Skip Allen, who's no stranger to the fan leagues, on, and we did 1980, and that was a blast. He had a lot of great opinions and takes, and yeah, I think that's about it for me.
What's funny is I'm okay announcing these matches. I booked both Chad and Kerri in separate horror matches that will be airing next month. So Kerri, it will be taking on Kevin Poss.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's going to be a fun match. And then we have Chad taking on a buddy of mine, Alec Miller.
Yeah.
So
very excited about matches. We're both very excited about those matches, and we're hoping that maybe one day we'll have a web versus web.
I will say this now: you both win your matches. That's the next match I'm booking.
We'll see. One step at a time. I know Alec and Kevin, I'm sure, are going to be tough opponents.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. If you did enjoy this, hit the like button, subscribe, and Nerd Entertainment number down below. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon.